Last Wednesday, I went to buy an iMac Pro. It was on sale for $900, and then I said I was interested. The person dropped it to $800, and I went over to take a look at it. The machine was all set up for me to look at. I looked at it for about 30 seconds on the table, and I said, "Sure, I'll take it." Normally, when I go to look at a machine, I judge the area and try to judge the person and the neighborhood. If the person's non-technical, then I look at the machine. I look at Drive DX to see drive health, and I check around to see whether it's MDM enabled or iCloud locked or EFI locked. But in this case, I found out that the guy is an employee at one of the big cap tech companies, and that we had a former coworker in common. So it was pretty clear that the guy was technically competent, and he knew his way around Macs. So for $800, I get an Intel 8 core Xeon W, 27-inch 5K monitor, and let's see what else. The Geekbench 5 multi-core score is somewhat better than the M1, the base M1 Max. So if you were to compare this with an M1 Mini, it's in the 7,000s for Geekbench 5. The M1 Max have faster single core of about, I think, 1,700. So those will feel more responsive. But in actuality, in getting stuff done, this thing slightly outperforms. Let's see. Comes base with 32 gigabytes of RAM, which is really nice because the M1 Max you could only get up to 16. The newer models you can get up to 24, but it's a significantly more expense. 32 gigabytes is probably enough for me. If there are times when I wish I had, well, if I had more, I could run some, multiple virtual machines, but I don't expect to do that too much on this system. And it has this Radeon Pro Vega 56, which is a pretty beefy card. It can support up to 5 monitors. And the OpenCL was like 59,000, whereas the OpenCL on the base M1 Max is something, I think, around under 20,000. But there should be much better GPU performance on this model than M1 or M2 Max. The downside is you can't add RAM to this yourself without opening it up. I don't really plan to do that, and 32 should be enough. I'm just using this to replace my 2015 iMac 27, and this is a fairly big upgrade. Another nice thing is it comes with a terabyte SSD standard, and anyone who shopped, if you shop an M2 Mini, an upgrade to a 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigabytes of RAM, well, yeah, on a Pro, I guess, would be, I think, probably $2,000, somewhere around $2,000. So let's go take a look. Let's take a look at a Mac Mini. Buy. Let's choose this guy. Bump it up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte storage. Okay, it's $18.99. Although the performance of this will be faster than the one I have. I think the Geekbench is about 12,000 instead of 8,000. So let's go back. We'll pick the regular one. 24 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte of storage. So you got $1,400. Then 5K monitor for what, $1,000. speakers, keyboard, mouse, webcam, microphones. So $800 is a pretty reasonable price for this guy. Now, the original price on this was $5,000. I paid $800. It comes with a nice keyboard and mouse from Apple. The lowest price I've seen on these is $700. There was one in New York City for $700. It's 5 hours away. I didn't feel like spending 5 hours driving one way for $100 savings. But these are kind of, well, the 2019 and 2000, the 2019 2010 iMacs are just starting to come out in the market. Sometimes you see them for as low as $600. I've seen a 2019 for $500. Those are usually the i5s. The i7s cost a little bit more. There's an i7 available in Boston for I think $700 right now, which is a reasonable value. It comes with additional RAM as well. The 2020s you get an SSD, whereas the 2019s you usually get a Fusion drive. And at this point, I'd like to avoid spinning drives completely. But if the price is right, I mean, you can always just throw an external SSD on the end. One of the experiments I want to try is using this as an external monitor for my Mac Studio or M1 Pro MacBook Pro via a Thunderbolt 3 cable. I believe that I'd get at least 60 hertz equivalent because the bandwidth on Thunderbolt 3 I think is like 20 gigs per second. So that'll be a fun experiment. I would also like to try an experiment on the 2015 using it as an external monitor, but I'd need a Thunderbolt 3 to 2 converter cable and a Thunderbolt 2 cable, which is about $80. It's an experiment I'd like to try because a lot of people ask about it. But it's possible I might sell that machine before I get to test it out. So we'll see what I do with the 2015. I really don't need it anymore with this machine. One other thing that I might do is I've moved ActiveTrader Pro over to my Windows desktop. So right now I have 5 monitors on my desk and 3 machines, 3 4K on the Studio, a 5K on the iMac Pro, and a 2K to run ActiveTrader Pro. The reason I went to Windows is that ActiveTrader Pro every once in a while crashes and corrupts the profile, so then I have to reinstall ActiveTrader Pro, and at the bad times of the day it can take like an hour and a half. Good times of the day it can take like 10 minutes. So if I have these two systems, then I have ActiveTrader Pro on them right now, and I could run it. And if there's a problem, then I can just switch to the other machine and run it there. Now, I could do this with a 2015 iMac as well, but there's a performance difference between the two systems. So it's nice to run it on this system. And one other thing I could do is set up a virtual machine with Windows on the iMac Pro and run it from there, where it would take very little RAM. So the plan would be to run run ActiveTrader Pro in the Studio. Then if it fails, run it on the iMac Pro while rebuilding it or reinstalling it on the Studio, and then having a third option. The problem with having 5 monitors on your desk is that it takes a lot of space, and most of the time when I've had my desktop trading setups, I run with 4K or 5K monitors, and that's usually fine. Having a desktop setup for just one program is a little bit on the excessive side. So I'm going to try and go back to just an all Mac setup and getting my Windows desktop off my table or my desk. At any rate, this is my new toy. It it solves a few minor problems that I had with the iMac, the 2015 iMac, and the nice thing is that it runs Sonoma, so I get all my desktop widgets. So if you're thinking of, if you want an Intel Mac, this is not a bad model. I don't know how long it'll continue receiving updates, maybe 2 or 3 years is my guess. But by then, Apple will have a 27-inch or maybe a 32-inch iMac Pro with an M4 or an M5 chip. The rumors are that they will have an iMac Pro large monitor Apple Silicon model in 2025 with an M4 chip. I'll believe it when I see it, although I think Apple probably wants to address this market because there's so many people like me that don't want the 21.5-inch base model iMac. So good day.